Welcome, everybody, to Original Veterans. I am your host, Harrison, with a co host.
Jackson. And hey, I'm
Welcome.
so excited to be here on our first episode.
I'm so excited as well. Everybody, we have a lot of information. Stay tuned. We're growing a community, we're helping each other out, and we look forward to meeting with you at least once a month. First things first, let's talk about the mission statement of Original Veterans and why we started this channel, what we're doing with veterans, the community. We have a lot of information from both of our personal experiences in the Army. We want to talk about how we can help veterans. We want to talk about benefits, our experiences from the beginning to current times, how we could help each other, how we could educate mothers and fathers who have kids thinking about the military or who want to join, or other veterans that are just like us who have recently retired or just want to be part of the community. We want to help you.
I guess you're wondering how me and Harrison met and how we became such good friends for however long. And this is where I guess me and Harrison's story began. So, my background, I moved to Northern California when I was young. I think when I was in third grade, I moved in. Um, and I think one of the first people I met was a couple of people here and there, but me and Harrison met in elementary school. I think in third
That's right.
grade, right?
I believe so.
I don't even remember the name. I don't remember
It could have been Bannock
our
Creek.
teacher. Well, I know the school name, but I don't remember the teacher's name.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
It was, man, I can't believe it was been so long. I think that was 1993 when I had moved into Northern.
1993.
Yeah, so um, me and him went to elementary school together, went to middle school together, and I think we became really good, like really good friends in high school, right?
That's true. High school, a lot of it came together. And we'll get into our JROTC program. I think a lot of that comes into play with this channel and our military decision making process. We definitely benefited from that. But also, like Jackson was saying, the meeting as a youth, we have similar backgrounds, upbringing in regards to family, and both of us needed a way to succeed. And you'll hear from us how we got to the military. And eventually you'll hear how the military changed our lives for the better. And with you thinking about it, joining yourself, or uh, maybe you'll relate to us that went through the same process. So we want to talk
Yeah,
about that. Let's definitely talk about how we grew up in North Sacramento. It's located in the Valley of California, if you're not aware, but that's our location growing up. And little did we know, starting in Sacramento and joining the Army would take us all around the world
oh yeah. You know,
a
I
couple
think
times.
yeah, I couldn't have imagined that because we growing up in the 90s. I think North Natomas area, Sacramento area was up and coming at the time. So it was a smaller, I guess, smaller community, I would say,
At the
right?
time, it was a growing community, Natomas
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I would say a pretty normal childhood. We enjoyed playing outside. Um, Enjoyed the summers. Went swimming a lot, especially down at the
Swimming.
river or go and
Yep.
hang out at Arden Fair Mall. You know.
Riding bikes on the bike
Yeah.
trail.
Yep. Yep. Um, but like me and Harrison had I guess me and you had um classes throughout our elementary school years, um, but we didn't really like click like that. We're acquaintances, but we weren't like actual, friends yet
Well,
at that time.
I think everyone knew who you were because in fourth grade you were 6 feet tall. So I think everyone knew who you were because the biggest kid in school. We thought you were 18 already. You were huge compared to everybody else. So who's this guy?
Yeah, yeah, I know, man. I think that's what I think everybody during elementary school wanted me to play. I love basketball, and that's what I played all the time. Especially with my friends um, in elementary school. Yeah, they loved the tall guy on their team, so I loved it.
Of course. So let's talk. Let's get to high school. Let's talk about high school, JROTC in particular, because I think that's part of the core conversation of how we really integrated and became closer friends. And the JRTC program really showed us what the military could be like. And I wish I recalled his name, our two commanders and first sergeant in it was a JRTC Air Force program.
It's
And I don't
I
recall their
think
names, but
I think
he was a
one Chief
major and
Kirkland, Major Wetstein.
Kirkland, Major Wetstein.
Yeah,
Well, if you
you
found
remember
us,
that?
I don't, but if you find us, Chief Kirkland, I do remember Chief Kirkland.
Yep.
Awesome gentleman. Taught us a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely
he
a
did.
serious man and took his job seriously to help mold the youth. And the major, definitely, he was an officer and you could tell he ran his program professionally,
Yeah,
but great people.
yeah. They were good people. I mean, it did shape our high school days, but I think we started. I mean, shoot, it was just a regular class that we took, and that we really ran with it. We really enjoyed it.
We did.
Um,
We took it over eventually. It became like
yeah,
our program.
yeah.
So to give you some contrast, and I want to say freshman year was the first year. I think just 3 years. I might have done 3 years of the ROTC program.
Hmm.
Um, but we started out and we did all the volunteering that you could think of. We did the drill competitions. We did after school programs with ROTC. And we started as cadets. And as we grew in high school from sophomore to junior year, we became more involved with leadership. And I think that's the biggest benefit of the ROTC was you learn how to lead other people and
Hmm.
learn discipline. We did the week long, what was it called, Hell Week or something that was hosted at the McClellan Park, where you sleep in tents and go through some some sort
Yeah,
of you know
it was like a week full of just activities. It's almost like I wouldn't say basic training because it wasn't really nothing, but it was definitely a good experience for me to experience that living in these tents in on Air Force Base.
so ROTC is definitely a positive if you're considering joining, or maybe you were in ROTC just like us. We might have competed against you in the drill competition. We had a pretty good program coming down to the marches and the drilling, and
Yeah,
I think we did pretty
I
well. We had a good.
yeah, it's very, when you look at it prospectively from as an adult standpoint, right? You didn't realize how big the JROTC program was. In Sacramento alone, I think almost every high school in the central and the southern high schools had a JROTC program. I think up north where we were at, shoot, I know that Grant had one. Of course, we had one. So it was big. It was a very big program during the time when we first joined, especially in the valley.
Yeah, we took it seriously too. We were strict, we were disciplined. The rifle competition, spinning those heavy rifles and throwing them in the air and catching them behind the back. We were really doing all of that. And to think we are maybe 15, 16 years old, doing those
Mm-hmm.
types of maneuvers and standing still in formation. So to get teenage kids to do that is very powerful. So if you're in junior high school or thinking about ROTC, it definitely can help you. It's definitely part of, if you complete a certain amount of years, it could help you when you join the military start at a higher rank. I know personally at the time I came in as a PFC because of my ROTC experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more money in your pocket and helps you the career path. So there is
Mm-hmm.
a benefit to it.
Yeah. So I mean, going through high school, it was definitely a different transition time. You know, especially for our generation. I think we were in sophomore year when 9/11 happened, and I think that really
Yeah,
kind of
that's right.
shifted a lot of our thinking of what we're gonna do next, right?
So
Um,
2001, right,
yep,
was 9/11.
yep, yep.
They sent us
So
home that day. They sent everybody home from school.
I kind of remember it. Well, I remember, let's talk about that, right? I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of reasoning why a lot of us joined, right? I think it was I remember the day very vividly. My alarm clock went off at 6:45, so that would have been like 9:45 out there in the East Coast, right? And usually, the radio, I had a clock radio that would play jams, 102.5 music.
Yeah.
So it would wake me up. But it wasn't. It was literally the commentator at the time, the DJ just talking about something, plane crash. I didn't pay nothing attention on that one. It wasn't until I even got to school around 8 o'clock that they were saying that we were under attack. So,
Yeah.
and I remember going to all my classes, though. That's what I remember. So,
Yeah, I think I went home. They sent a bunch of people home.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
it
a big
was,
deal, and if you were there, then you remember the nation
yeah,
kind of stopped. It was
yep, we
like
did.
even in
Every
class,
class,
you're watching TV. They,
yep,
they turned on the news.
yep, it was a big deal. And from our perspective on the West Coast, we're getting everything like kind of late, right?
Hmm.
So it was definitely trying to, and with no social media, no uh, instant,
No
you
social
know,
media.
social media or anything. You just literally you were glued to the TV.
That's
So
right.
I think
Well,
that's
let's
what
talk
we
about
did for
that.
the,
Information sharing was a lot different back in our day.
yeah. I think, the a lot of the stuff that we used to do was taken for granted. I remember one story. I think it was my birthday. I think it was my 16th birthday, and we needed to get the message out there. Hey, I'm throwing a party, and what did we do?
Yeah.
We went to Kinko's, right?
Yeah. Created some flyers.
Yeah, we made some flyers and we got and started passing them out um, randomly. Um, it was
It
a
was a
good
big
turnout,
party. A
man.
lot of people came.
Yeah, it was a good party. It was definitely unexpected and well worth it. But that's how we
Yeah, it
got the
was a great
information
party.
around. We couldn't like text and tell people like, "Hey, no." It's literally uh, you had to do word of mouth.
That's true. Let's talk about how, let's get back to the ROTC. How do you think that helped you prepare for the military? Well, do you think it had any impact on, let's say, boot camp or
Uh,
discipline or marching?
it did. I would say the marching portion helped me because, and we'll talk about this later too when we go more in depth into basic training and stuff. But
Yeah,
at the time when we joined, um, the focus of the army was to build a bigger army. When you're building a bigger army, you have to cut a lot of different things. because you only got certain amount of time to get you ready to become a soldier, right? So there was a lot of time that had to be adjusted and moved around or take curriculum taken out, and marching was one of them. But it did help me train, uh, I guess, my battle buddies so that they understand it as well.
That's a good point. I definitely benefited from the ROTC, the drilling, the discipline, the marching.
Hmm.
Uh, it was really helpful. It prepared me for when I got off that bus at Fort Benning and had the drill sergeant screaming in your face. So we definitely were ready for that, and we'll get into the boot camp portion later. But that's exciting. Stay tuned for that because I think everybody loves to hear about the
Yeah,
boot camp experience, right?
yeah.
Because for all of us that goes through the training, there's a lot to discuss and how funny times and times when you just got beaten down and maybe you want to
Hmm.
quit and you had to
Hmm.
dig deep and find a way to push through. So the boot camp is a big topic.
Yeah. Now, what's one thing that you miss from, I guess, high school that you used to love doing, but now since you're older, you can't do that anymore because it's either gone because everything moves so fast out there in SAC. What's one thing that you missed
Well,
from your,
I would
I guess, high
say
school days?
I would say riding bikes. Definitely, now that I'm old, I don't ride bikes no more. But growing up, we used to ride bikes, and that's how you would meet up with your friends before we had phones.
Yeah,
We'd ride to somebody's house. If you called them their home phone and they didn't answer, I'll just ride my bike over there and
yeah,
see what they're doing
yeah,
and just ride around the city with no money, maybe $5 or $10, and you just
yeah.
ride for hours.
Now,
To think
you
of it
know,
now, like I wouldn't let my kids do that now, but that's what
it,
we were doing.
it's kind of a strange shift in the last 25 years, especially out there in northern Sacramento. And I can't think of the times where as a preteen, I can walk from literally down Truxell at night without any problems, or walk down Northgate all the way down to San Juan without no trouble. You know, Now, I'm not saying it's like that now, but it's not like something I would do on a regular all the time, right?
You wouldn't, you don't want to walk down at midnight down Northgate?
you know, but I think what I miss a lot about those times was just we didn't have a care in the world. I think we felt invincible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did definitely enjoyed our California lifestyle and being in our own little bubble.
So if you're not familiar with Sacramento, there's two major rivers that run down. That's the American River that I believe comes down from like the Sierra Mountains. And then
Hmm.
there's the Sacramento River. That's the another major body of water that goes. The American River feeds into Sacramento, and Sacramento itself is built around those two rivers. They come together. Our downtown area is built around that connection, and the
Hmm.
water will take you all the way to San Francisco Bay into the
Hmm.
ocean. So
Hmm.
it's a big part of the city, and we definitely had fun on the water swimming as kids and
Yeah,
even as adults.
yeah. I mean, I haven't been to the river in Sacramento well over 2 decades now. So even when I go visit, I don't go there anymore. It's just not some that um, I do anymore, But I know that you probably still enjoy it, not
I
not
do.
as much as before.
I had a boat and I did my fair share of cruising on the river in a boat, but
Oh,
yeah, it
nice.
definitely is. It's a fun place to be, and it's always going to be what we do in Sacramento. It's just part
Yeah.
of living here on the river.
Yeah, I think definitely our high school years was great. But I know a lot of us we had a different mindset at that time. Mine was, okay, do I really want to go to school, you know, uh, or do I want to um, get into the military? And this is our senior year, right? And we really had to really consider it. But in the back of my mind, I already knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to join the service. No matter, when I say the service is meaning I did want to see which one was going to be the best fit for me. What about your experience, Harrison?
Uh, Part of I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew if I did join the service, ROTC, I did those 3 years with the intention that if I did join, I would come in at a higher rank and higher pay. But I didn't really know because after graduating high school, I waited about 2 years and I really tried to figure it out on my own to
Hmm.
survive as a young adult, as an 18-year-old. And when I turned 20, I realized it just wasn't the life that I wanted to live. I wasn't getting far as a civilian working retail jobs and around the city. It was very hard to do. And
Yeah,
if you're 18 to 20 years old, it's really difficult, especially now, I think, with the cost of living is so high. And depending where
yeah,
you live, what city, rent and other things are just out of many people's grasp. So
yeah,
joining the service, even at a time of war, was my only solution to that problem.
yeah. No, I think uh, for me, I was working two jobs my senior year. Was working retail at Macy's and working a fast food joint um around in the same area that I lived. So it was just, um, that's all I wanted to do is just keep my mind and keep myself going. But I think
Yeah.
towards my senior year, I mean, towards the end of my senior year, I really took it seriously. And uh, I guess I'm gonna talk about my experience of, you know, my process of thinking. And I want to
Hmm.
hear your process of thinking as well,
Okay.
and see how similar it is, right? So,
Yep.
uh, I think it was beginning of 2003. Um, the Afghan war was already happening because we started doing the campaign um, in 2001. It was 2003, and they were amping up to
Hmm.
go to uh, uh, do the Iraq campaign. Okay, I started talking to, I guess, the Air Force because what we were in the Air Force JROTC, right? I
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
right.
see
Yeah.
what they had to offer. I went to their office at least four times and didn't get no response. Um, so that was my experience. I just kept on getting the door shut in front of me before I even got in the door, and I think I got really upset about that because it was about a month, a month or so that was wasted, right? And then I went to go see the Navy because there was a Navy office right there across the way from the
Yeah.
high school, right?
There was. Yeah,
So
right there.
I went in there, talked to them. Um, you know, I wasn't completely sold on the idea of going in and
Was your fear of
not
being on the ship?
no, not that, but it's more of like because they what the recruiter was talking about at that time was, hey, you can um go to the Philippines, go to all of these places, or go to Europe, Greece, and just all of these different places. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I kind of want to go to Afghanistan, you know. which is crazy. He's like, we're the Navy. So, I took everything that they said and I put in the back burner for now. And this is March time frame, and I think we were in our social studies class, and I I believe it was one of our I forgot his name, but he turned on the TV and what was going on? The invasion of Iraq, right? This was
Yep.
March 2003, and we watched who's that newscaster, Gerardo Gerver.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was on a tank and he was filming the tankers um, pulling in, going through from Kuwait all the way up to Baghdad. And I was like, wow, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So I went to go talk to the Marines because the Marines was right next door to the Navy. And I told him like, hey, I want to join. I want to go to Iraq or Afghanistan, and he didn't take me really seriously because I was a frail, like really frail Asian kid at that time, you know. And hey, he didn't like what I had to offer, and I kind of didn't like what they had to offer because I wanted to fight, I wanted to be in combat, and he couldn't guarantee that. Now, then finally, I went to the Army office. The Army office at the time wasn't close to us at all. Do you remember that? It was all the way up at Arden.
Yeah.
Yep.
Different location. Yeah.
Yeah. So, went over there, and the recruiter took care of me. He took care of me from day one. Got exactly what I wanted. Okay. I wasn't asked for a bonus. I asked for a specific job, and I asked for specific uh, I guess, outcome I wanted to deploy.
You had a primary mission, and that was to deploy, right? So you wanted to go with a branch that could take you there.
Well, not just take me there, but also be in a combat MOS or a military
Hmm.
occupation specialty. So I wanted a combat role.
So what did you ultimately choose? What MOS is that?
So I chose 19 Kilo, which is a M1 Abrams tank crew member. Um, and I was like, hey, I just saw these tanks rolling into Baghdad, and I want I want to do that,
Well,
and
I would feel pretty safe on the tank.
yeah. It was exactly what I wanted. I got everything I needed, and I signed my contract. I guess now, my experience is that I went to every single branch.
Hmm.
Different experiences for each one. You know. So what was your process the same way?
A little bit. I did talk to the Navy, and that's partially because my grandfather joined the Navy, and I had a cousin at the time in the Navy, and he recently
Hmm.
got out. So I spoke to them, and I thought maybe the Navy was a good path for me. But once I got there, and they talked about possibility of being on an aircraft carrier or a ship and being out at sea for long periods of time, I started thinking, I don't know if I want to be out in the ocean like that. And my cousin, he was a like an aircraft maintainer or something where they
Hmm.
launched. He told me all he did was turn wrenches and launch, planes off the aircraft carrier. And there wasn't
Hmm.
much career opportunity for when you got out. And I said, you know what? The Navy
Yeah.
is not a good fit for me. And
Yeah.
I knew that if I were to join the service, I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to experience the combat. And I just went to the Army after that. And they were very willing to talk about opportunities and, based on your test scores for your ASVAB, that would determine what you can and can't do. So my thought process was, I turned 20 years old. I pretty much hit rock bottom. Um, I was very close to being homeless,
Mm,
and I just wasn't really um, happy with my life at the time. So I
yeah,
needed a way out, and the Army, fortunately, gave me that opportunity. And I was ready to ship out ASAP. I
yeah,
told them I just wanted a job with a secret clearance. I wanted something with a clearance to set me up for the future. And they
mm,
gave me a list of jobs that were available. So I went with the MOS that was 25 uniform, which is basically a radio operator
mm,
uh, with a with a clearance and all. And that clearance, all we did was fill encrypted radio communications.
yeah.
So
Basically, I
if
mean, that's
you're
that's mainly what it is.
it's a little ANCD device. It's a little device that filled crypto once a week.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's the only reason why you had a secret clearance, is because you had
yeah,
this little crypto device.
yeah,
So I went with the radio operator, and thankfully so, it slingshotted me into Afghanistan right away. So
yeah,
it worked out.
yeah. So I mean, so you, I guess, when you selected the army and everything, how long did you sign up for at that time?
I did the 4 years
4 years.
because I knew to get the GI Bill. So I wanted the GI Bill for college. I wanted the benefits of being a veteran. And the MOS did come with a bonus of, I think, like 10,000 at the time. So for me, I was excited to be 20 years old and them telling you, we're going to feed you, we're going to clothe you, we're going to train you, we're going to get you a secret clearance and give you 10 grand. I was like, why not sign up? What am I doing here in Natomas? Sleeping
Yeah,
on a couch and just up to no good. I could
yeah,
have easily made a mistake and went to jail. So
yeah,
I didn't want that to happen. So
yeah.
joined the Army, and within a month or two, I was shipped out.
Yeah, for me, a little back, I guess dating and everything. So, me and you graduated at the same time in
Same year, yeah.
around what June 2003.
2003, right?
Yep. So we
Yep.
joined. I mean, we graduated in June 2003 from
Mm-hmm.
high school, and for myself, I joined right away, right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 17 years old, signed a contract, and I shipped out. I wanted to leave quick, but I had a 4 month wait, so I didn't leave until about December of 2003. Um, but my contract was only 3 years at the time. All
Oh,
combat
okay.
MLSs back then was still 3 years exactly. That's including your
Mm.
job training and everything else. So,
I didn't know that.
um, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of jobs that required bonuses and stuff at the time did require a longer stint, at least 4 years. Again, I joined right after high school and everything, but Matt, you said you joined 2 years after. You know, um,
Yes,
that's a
when I turned
very hard
28. Yep.
experience. Being 18 years old and then just being out there in Sacramento, just trying to survive,
So part
right?
of that story, I spoke to Jackson while he was already out of boot camp, and we talked about the Army, and he reassured me how boot camp was and what to expect. And at the time, I was very just like, I need something to happen. And his reassurance and guidance at the time, I was like, oh wow, if Jackson could do it, then I could do it. Because him and I had similar backgrounds, and I just knew, like,
And
man, he
and
made it through
remember,
boot camp.
yeah, I remember I was a scrawny kid, about a buck 65, going through basic training. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
it like Jackson said, I was 20. He was already like 1 or 2 years in at the time. So when we spoke, that's when I really decided like I have nothing else going on. So I went to the recruiter, and within a couple months, I was shipped out to Fort Benning.
Hmm. Yeah, so you went to Fort Benning, uh, which is totally different for your MOS, you know. And I think we'll get more into that
Yeah.
as we
Hmm.
talk about basic training, because that is going to be a huge topic of discussion when we
And you know
go through
what?
that.
That is true because we were like the first, in my first or second, I want to say, rotation of a non-combat MOS at Benning. So that was
Hmm.
very different for the Army. So we definitely will talk about that later.
Yeah, but I think both of us we did kind of capture that moment uh, of who we are and what kind of similarities we have um, with one another, and why we decided to take the journey and take the leap of faith into the army. And I think we
Yeah.
can definitely project that and bring our story to you. But for you, audience, you know, why did you join the service that you joined?
Yeah.
Comment
And
below.
mind
Let's see
you,
what we can do.
yeah, we want to hear your stories, your personal decisions, if it's similar to ours, or maybe you have a family history that were in the service. I know that's also plays a factor in signing up, is just to continue the legacy. And I definitely want to touch on, especially for our generation, we joined during a time of war. So the stigma at the time, a lot of people were worried. And if you told people I joined the army, you were kind of viewed differently. They
Hmm.
kind of treated you differently. Now, some supported it, obviously. And then there was a group of people that were anti-war that did not believe in the movement and the idea of joining the service.
Hmm.
And some people thought we were making a bad choice because the fact that you could lose your life in a time of war, which was obvious, and some people just kind of looked at you differently. So
But
we had to go through that as well.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? I know my mom was worried, but I didn't have an inkling of feeling that I wasn't gonna be I guess in harm's way, right? Like, I mean, I felt
Yeah,
invincible.
me too.
Again, we were kids, right? We didn't worry about any of that stuff. Um,
Yeah, I
you
wasn't
know,
afraid, and I really just trusted the military being the best in the world, being, the training, and I just trusted the equipment, the training, the people I would be with.
hmm.
And I think that's what really kind of carried me through was I had nothing to worry about.
Yeah. So I think, and again, if you have similar stories of why'd you join, was it because of 9/11, or was it because of family ties, or was it because, hey, similar to what Harrison was talking about, is that, hey, I needed something to happen in my life. I needed to change my life for the better, you know?
That's right. But we want to see your comments. Go ahead and put, your boot camp location, your MOS, any kind of comments or stories you want to post to this. We want to
And
hear it. We want to talk about it.
yep. And I think that's the best thing right there, is to talk about it and share their experience, and, have an outlet for you guys to talk about it.
Definitely. We want to hear it. And we're going to segue all of this. We'll recap it, but we're going to segue this into our episode 2, which is going to be the boot camp story and
That's gonna be
both of
fun.
our journeys. It's going to be fun, right? Because everybody loves
Yeah,
boot camp. We went to
yeah.
different places, we experienced different things. Uh, there's going to be funny stories. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and I'm sure you're going to have some stories that you could chime in because something happened to everybody, right? There's a drill
Yeah.
sergeant story. There's the goofy guy that got kicked out. So there's always something to bring up.
Concludes our first episode. I think it was a lot to uncover. And I really hope that you enjoyed listening to, again, our mission, our story about how me and Harrison met, and how our high school days came about. Inviting us into your home and just letting us share our story, telling you about what OV does, talking about how me and Harrison met and why we're doing this. And I believe that all of us is going to cherish these kind of moments together. That's what I enjoyed most about this. But Harrison, what did you enjoy about this episode?
What I enjoyed most is just really just reflecting on our journey, our youth, and I think a lot of our viewers could also understand the perspective that we offered, and they may have had similar decision making processes or experiences of being a high school kid with no real path or future. And the military may have provided them that opportunity to join the service and change their lives, because that's what I felt like happened to me. Was it changed my life. If it was not for the Army, I couldn't even imagine where I would be right now,
Yeah,
because life is hard, and
yeah,
the service really just opened a lot of doors.
yeah, definitely. Well, I think we are gonna call it quits for the night, but I really hope that you enjoyed the show and join us again on our next episode about how and I guess our Army story. Can we say that, Harrison?
It
Our
really,
Army
I think it
story.
really, yeah, I think it's really going to start to come together when we talk about boot camp. And, to be honest, stay tuned, because every episode is going to continue to progress through our, I want to call it the adventure of boot camp. And then we're going to talk about deployment and our time overseas, because we both did multiple tours in different capacities. So we have many more episodes, and we'll get into those experiences later. So stay tuned.